I'm thrilled to be joined by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Kiely, authors of the award-winning New York Times bestseller, All American Boys. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Let's start with how this book came to be. I read an account from NPR that you two ended up sharing a hotel room as pretty much strangers the very same day George Zimmerman was acquitted of the murder of Trayvon Martin. Tell me a bit about how some of that may have led to the book.
Well, we were on tour together. We were promoting our first novels, and it just happened to be in 2014. And during 2014, as you know, there were lots of things happening. Besides the acquittal this is the year that Michael Brown was killed, and all sorts of acts of police violence were taking place in our country. This is when sort of Black Lives Matter movement started to sort of stir up, and things of that nature. Ferguson was happening, all the different uprisings, Freddie Gray. And I'm on tour with Brendan, who is a white man, obviously, and furthermore, a white man that I do not know. My mom is concerned, my family is concerned, and over drinks at the bar at one night, as we're trying to decompress from tour, we finally had this conversation. Ali, you know better than most. We all know that politics and religion are off the table when you're just getting to know someone. But this was the elephant in the room. And so as we finally started to lean into the conversation, it was a watershed moment for both of us because we finally got to sort of air our feelings. And it was in that moment that I realized that this person that I had been a little reticent about had an uncanny ability to listen. And that was sort of the impetus and the beginning of what would become All American Boys.
Which is remarkable because that difference of perspective and around the same story is thematic in the book. Brendan, how'd that same experience that Jason just talked about, how did that work out for you that night?
You know what? I really appreciated your introduction to the book, Ali, because I think it's really important for folks to understand the value of a dialogue in a novel. And I want to just to reiterate what Jason was saying. One of the realities of our getting to know each other was, Jason, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but you know, the fact that your mother was concerned as you were traveling around the country. And as you had shared with me, and as I've heard from her later, right, that she was concerned that there might be a George Zimmerman out there for you as you were traveling around the country as a young Black man. And she called you with that fear. And to put things as clearly as possible about the difference or the, as Martin Luther King Jr. said in 1968 at Grosse Pointe High School, the two Americas living side by side, my mother didn't call me. My mother wouldn't have cause to have that same concern. Right. And so for me in that conversation, right, it is desperately important that I spend my time as a white man listening to Black families telling me about the reality they experience every day.
So we're going to talk a lot about the book, but I want to jump to the end of the book, Jason. Quinn, Rashad, and their stories are so intertwined. And yet there's that sort of 20 feet away thing, right? That they never actually meet each other. The last few pages of the book, we switch perspectives between the two boys at a racial justice rally. They're both there. They're close, not together. I want to understand from you, Jason, what were you trying to convey with that ending?
First of all, Ali, this is the only book club I've ever been to where you spoiled the book. I've never experienced this before, right?
I'm not telling you exactly what happened. I'm telling you, I want to know how you got there. Don't tell me what happens next at all.
Well, the way we got there, you know, there were a few things that Brendan and I wanted to be very clear about when we started to make this book. And one of those things was we wanted to push as far away as possible the idea of the white savior. We didn't want Quinn and Rashad to meet and then suddenly there's this kumbaya moment, right? There's this moment where all is well with the world. Now we can shake hands, pat ourselves on the back, be ebony and ivory and go off into the sunset, right? Like that, because that's not actual reality. And we respect young people too much to tie something up in that way. The other thing that's even more important, though, is that we wanted to drive home the point that you don't need to actually know a person to care about their well-being. That it shouldn't matter that you don't live in Ferguson, Missouri, for you to care about what happened to Michael Brown. It shouldn't matter that it may never actually touch your doorstep for you to be concerned about the welfare of your brothers and sisters of color out here in this world. It's that simple. And so we wanted to illustrate that subtly and nuanced in that scene.
Let's talk, Brendan, about the title. It's a double entendre. The phrase All-American with a hyphen evokes imagery of Americana, picket fences, baseball. Quinn describes himself that way repeatedly. The title doesn't have a hyphen. It's referring to all American boys, not all hyphen American boys, including Rashad. Tell me about the thinking that went into that, if much did.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, we bring it up in the book a number of times, and there are lots of conversations about all American and what that means. And I think a lot about when I was a kid, I wanted to be a child actor and model. Didn't work out, but I did a very little bit. I did a few commercials and print ads, but I'll never forget a casting director who said, "Oh yes, Brendan, we'd like to hire you because you, Brendan, look like the all-American boy." And the implicit racism in that there is one single image, that definite article defines this, is part of what we're playing within the title of the book, right? That's absurd and racist to reduce things to that way. And I remember a conversation that Jason and I were having about the title at one point, and Jason saying, that term All-American kind of felt like a slur because it felt exclusive, the way that it was so often used in pop culture. And so we wanted to play with this, take away the hyphen and talk about all. I'm a father. I have a 3.5-year-old son, and I want him to embrace images of leadership and heroism that don't just look like him, but include all American boys and girls and folks who identify across the gender spectrum.
All-American Boys opens with two quotes, Jason. Quote, "History can only teach its lesson if it is remembered," from Carmelo Soto. And "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I am only for myself, what am I?" from Hillel the Elder. Having these two parallel quotes sets the scene for the formatting of the book, different perspectives. But why these specific quotes?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, these are sort of the cornerstones of this novel, and there are a few others in the book, I think, that are just as comparable. Some images and some scenery. We're talking about Invisible Man. We're thinking about Aaron Douglas, right? But I think these quotes, the idea that especially, I love that Hillel quote, right? This idea that, like, yes, it is true that I have to be for me, but if I am only for me, right? If I am only for me, then we are all doomed. We know this already. The human experience is one that is connective. The human experience is one that is communal, even if we try our hardest to fight against that communal aspect and that community, right? The truth of the matter is the only way that we continue to exist as people, let alone as people with healthy lives and healthy communication and fairness and freedoms and liberty, right? There has to be the acknowledgement of the people around you who might be different, but who actually aren't much different. Right, when it all whittles down to it, right? We're different, so our details are different, but our the general consensus about what we want for our lives are all the same for the most part around the world, not just in this country.
I was about to say that's not even just an American thing; that's a global thing. Jason Reynolds and Brendan Kiely, authors of the New York Times bestseller All-American Boys.